Hi, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday. My name is Kate. I am the CEO and co-founder for Archoral. My cohort, LaVern, is here with me today too. Well, I tell you what, we're going to go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be talking about creating the timelines in person profiles. Anyone that does any research of any kind and is trying to look at the story of a person knows that timelines is absolutely essential. It's the organization structure of a person's life, of everything that you've got going on. So today, what we're going to cover is basic research timelines, which I'm sure everybody understands, but I just want to start from the top and work my way down. We're going to look at statistics from documents, and then how Archoral views timelines, how we're a little bit different than traditional applications are, and why we think the way we do. So I'm going to take you on a little journey, nice and quick, and then we're going to slide on over to our live application so I can take you on a quick tour. Then we're going to look at the different kinds of timelines. So traditionally, when you think of a timeline, it's just a singular view. We have multiple timelines in a person profile. We can look at additional names, we can look at variable statistics, and then we have the life timeline that you would think of. Only with Archoral, it's a whole lot more expanded in our universe because we like expansion. So then we're going to come back to the presentation and we're going to talk about ways to approach your entries. We're going to look at it from the point of view of a genealogist and then from the point of view of a family historian. It just kind of gives you two ways to go about using our application. But if you're anything like me, you go about it both ways, just depending on what you're working with. So let's get started with basic research timelines. And this is tracking the vitals and the milestones at a high level. The milestone events are essentially birth, marriage, children, and death. There are four essential timelines that you find when you start looking at a person. And this gives you the four chapters, if you will, of their life. Those are the things that you find in your wedding registries, your newspapers, your censuses, your things like that. Those are documents that you gather off of sites like Ancestry, MyHeritage, Library of Congress, things like that that are essential. Those websites are essential for gathering your data points, basically. Then you can add to those 4 points. You can get into the yearbooks. You can start finding some education. Then the education and the censuses start giving you migration points. They give you residences. So now you have 7 basic points that you're looking at. And that is presented back to you in just a basic black and white schedule of a person's life. So what about all the other stuff? What about all the other fun details that we like to call texture, the texture of what makes a person visible and brings them out of that black and white timeline? So that's what we're going to talk about. Purpose of Archoral's timelines. It's capturing that story that's not found in the traditional documents. It's capturing that texture. So I'm going to take you on a little journey of my dad. Archoral was built from my need to organize my family's collections. I'm one of the either lucky or cursed, I don't know how you want to look at it, that I inherited a massive amount of stuff from my family going all the way back to the 1700s. And we're talking documents and artifacts and everything, photographs, hair clips, earrings, you name it. I ended up with all of it. And I needed it to tell me the construct of each one of my relatives. I needed them to speak to each other. So this is a little bit of a journey about what I wanted it to tell me about my father. So this cute little guy is my daddy. He is 4 years old in this picture. And if you notice, he's got casts on both of his legs with a little broomstick plastered there in between his legs. That's because he had osteomyelitis. It was a bone deteriorating disease. So in this picture, he got one of the first full joint replacements done in the United States. And he's just a happy kid that has a medical condition that is going to cascade through who he is and what he does, the kind of person that he became. So joint replacements were a big part of his entire life. It was a completely normal thing to him and to us, and he was always smiling throughout the events. Being a little guy growing up in the city, he was his big sister's baby doll. He missed a lot of school due to his medical condition. So he was always home with the ladies and playing dress up. And he always had a great sense of style. I don't know if this is because he was always with the ladies dressed to the nines in that era, but Daddy always had a great sense of style. He tried to play sports, but it really wasn't something that he could do physically. So he joined every group that he could. He joined the Crossing Guards, he joined the Eagle Scouts. He just excelled in every club that he was a part of. At a young age, his father introduced him to horses, which he got really serious about when he was riding up at visiting Grandpa's farm. And that passed all the way through his life and started to pass on his love of horses very, very early to us kids. So look at my cute little brother right there holding the reins to this giant horse. Being on the farm, he got into fishing, and that fishing just lasted a lifetime. He stopped bow hunting because my mama thought it was gross, but he also passed his hunting on to his son. So we're starting to see how from an ailment at the very beginning of his life started to cascade and shape the things that he could do, the things that he could participate in, and how he did so. So he missed so much school that he had to go to the junior college one summer to get his high school GED. He met a lady that was a World War II lady pilot. Think about that for a second. Women weren't allowed to fly combat in World War II. So there's a whole story behind my father meeting her and her teaching him to fly. He was a danger seeker, so he ran the Jeep Jamboree with his World War II Willie every summer with my mom. That's another layer of my father not being able to be out there physically in the world. So he found new ways to go about experiencing life. He was a big part of the Farm Bureau Federation. He traveled the world with the California Walnut Commission. He also traveled the world with the Walnut Marketing Board. He was a developer for the Ag Leadership Program. You get where I'm going. There's so much more to my father than just those black and white things that we got from the vital statistics. Back home, he was part of the Livestock Commission, the County Fair Board. He was president of the school board, which meant that he was allowed to sneak in my graduations and give me my diploma personally, even all the way up to my high school. So he did all of this while working and building up the family farm with his wife. And he always had time to be a great dad. I'm just saying, I miss my dad. So where I'm going with this is the basic vitals timeline gives you these points of history, these data points. But what we wanted with our corals timeline was to give you the whole scope of the person, to give you the whole life story, so that you could really understand what happened from birth to death and all of the context in between. So what we're going to do now is we're going to slide on over. We're going to go to our Archoral application, and I will give you a little wandering of what we mean. So this is our dashboard. When you log into your Archoral archive, we have a collection. A collection is going to contain all of your people, all of your media, everything that's part of your collection. We consider ourselves to be profile and media based as opposed to tree based. The reason why we're profile and media based is because you find your people in sporadic order, and you don't traditionally have the success of finding your entire family going from the roots to the trunk to the branches to the leaves. You find them in pieces and parts. So as you find your people, you enter them, you're creating profiles. And these profiles are what hold the world. We are going to explore Caleb. So we're going to search for Caleb and we're going to open his profile. I'm going to collapse all these so that we can do them one at a time. There is so much that evolves through a person's life. It's not just the things that we do and the things that we experience that evolve between birth and death. One of the things that is a very good research point and a good note for a new chapter beginning in someone's life is when they have a name change. So you can have, when nicknames come along, that nickname speaks to whatever is happening in that person's life. You have a name change when you get married. A lot of times women will take on the man's name. You also have things like adoptive names, alternate spellings, formal names, legal names, naturalization names. We take in nobility titles. We take in stage and pen names. That's a really fun one, so that you're not creating two profiles, one for the stage persona and one for the personal persona. We allow you to connect them together and see when those things change. Those of you that do research, my mother's maiden name is Oliger. So you can only imagine how many millions of different ways I have found that spelled. We'll capture each one of the transcription errors so that they get locked together into the singular profile. So the next thing that we're going to look at, vital statistics, permanent, birth and death. Okay, that's our black and white section. So let's go to variable. Variable is where you can actually watch a person grow. So if you think about, you've got medical records, you've got sports physicals, you've got draft cards, your driver's license, you name it. Anytime that you get a little bit of data about a person, you can put it in here and you can see at what age range they started to physically change and grow throughout life. It's also a really great way to find out if you've got the wrong ancestor in your bunch, because if he goes from 6'3" to 5'7" and back to 6'3", that's just another indicator that you may have meshed two people together that you need to split apart. In this variable, we also include gender identity. That is something that can change and shift, or it can be recorded when the person is comfortable enough to come out into their own, their own world, their own skin. People say, can your complexion really change? Yes, it can. Left and right-handed. My favorite example is the farmer that got drunk and got his hand stuck in a plow. If he's right-handed on one document and left-handed on the other, why? Instead of just discarding it, maybe there's a story in there. Or maybe he was a firefighter and he was brave and he went to go rescue someone and a tragedy happened. That could lead to retirement and pension and all of the other records that you can go back to your ancestry or your local archives and try and dig that story up for more of the texture. People often ask me if blood type can change. Absolutely. If you go through a major trauma and you have a blood transfusion or a bone marrow transfusion, your blood type can change. So instead of looking for those high-level pieces that are going to give you clues to your people's story, we allow you to take in all the details, as much of the details as you want to. Everything in our system is optional. So you can use it as much or as little as you want. It just depends on your desire to archive. All right, so those are what's in our facts tab. So let's go explore our timeline. So we have a life timeline, and this is where you're going to put in your birth, your school, your marriage, your moves, your stuff like that. But we go so much farther than that. If you want to add an additional, we click add additional here. We've got event details, add an additional location, which is a residence, or if they had something very specific to do with a particular location, or you can add a vital record event in the life timeline. So we're going to look at event details. Now, our event type, we've got them split up twice. We've got union ceremony. because being an inclusive application, not all cultures call it a wedding. A union ceremony can be handfasted, it could be polygamous, it could be anything under the sun. So that's a whole nother webinar on our union ceremony, but you can capture a whole lot of detail in that. We're going to take a look at other events. So in our life timeline, you'll notice that focus profile is already marked. That's because we are on Caleb's profile. So he's going to be the focus person for this particular timeline item. We're going to let you name it, and we're going to let you give it an event type. The event type is broken down by all of these different lists, all of these different categories. And inside these categories, you can go to subtype, and there's a whole nother list of stuff. One thing I want to point out, people start getting a little nervous when I scroll, is every single one of these fields will auto populate as you start typing. So why are we doing this? Why are we doing indexing fields instead of tagging, which is what people traditionally do? We are a legacy application. Our entire purpose is you do all of this work, you do all of this research, you do all of this beautiful organization, but then you want to pass it on. You want to give it to the next generation. So Archoral is where you take all of that information, all of those chapters and those data points that you have found from all of your different sources. We're the curation zone for it. We're where you put everything. So if we use tagging, you may tag it WW2. Your next generation is going to tag it WWII, and the next generation is going to spell out World War II. Those things are never going to find each other. They're not going to talk to each other. So for us, indexing keeps that structure going. So if I look at specific historical and I start typing in World War II, there it is. It's going to be consistent for generations to come. So we've got start dates, end dates, location information, all of this, the organizer, the vendors, the types of services, the type of activities. So why we have all of that in here is the other thing that drove me crazy. I've got this big giant warehouse, right? I have all this furniture and all these documents and all these photos that dealt with more than one individual person. They affected multiple people's lives, multiple people's timelines and personas. I didn't want to have to take the same thing and attach it to 6 different family members, especially if I made a mistake in one, then I got to go find it in the others. It's enough work to do what it is we're trying to do without adding more to it. So these little 3 icons you see everywhere on the profile page. You'll notice the last ones. One is black and one is blue. Black means that it is just a text entry. I knew that data, so I put that data in, and it's kind of just a placeholder. It's information. When they're blue, that means I've attached media to it. So I'm going to click on the blue one, and it's going to open only the media that is associated with that life timeline event. So it doesn't matter when I put it in there, it doesn't matter where it came from, it's only the media that's attached to that. You'll see that we do photos, documents, videos, and audio. So if you have a voicemail that grandma left when you were in the delivery room, you have a video of the first time you got to hold the baby, you've got the document that's the birth certificate, and then you've got the 3 gazillion photos that we take. All of that media works together in one space. So there's no opening QuickTime, opening preview, opening all of that. All right, I get really excited about that part. Let's go back to event details. So it's blue because we have information in there. We're going to look at other events. So here our focus person was Caleb, which is daddy. We named it the birth of son Nathan. It's a cultural, social celebration. We gave it a date. There was no end date because he was born on one day. But if I wanted to make it the week that they were in the hospital, you can do that too. Name of attendees, Alicia is mama. Nathan was there also. Down here in the location information, they were in Seattle, Washington when they got born. So I indexed all of this information against this media. And what happened to it, let's see, let's go to Alicia. So if I come back here to the profiles and I type in Alicia and I click on her and I go to her timeline, the birth of son Nathan. So it gave me the type, the date, the title, the location. And if I go over here to the indexer tab, it opens the same pieces of media that I had indexed with it. So it makes that cyclical thing. Location profiles. Locations are incredibly important because their timelines are just like the timelines for people. They evolve as well. Now, Thursday's webinar is going to go into detail on using location timelines, but I just wanted to let you know, since we put a location profile in there, here's the celebration, here's the date, birth of son Nathan, and whoop, right back to that media. So I indexed one piece of media one time and it reverberated throughout everybody's timelines, through the people's timelines and the location timelines. So you're saying, okay, do I really want to go in there one by one by one by one and do all of this? No. When you're back in the timelines, you can bulk index. When you create a timeline event, you can drag and drop all of your media anywhere in the system into upload media, and whatever information you put in there, it will index the whole pile the same way. One shot, one time, one whack, and it works throughout the whole thing. So that's basically what our indexer is. It's all about the whole world. It's all about the whole life. There's a whole lot more to us. There's a whole lot more than just those little stats. And that's the purpose of building our coral, is so that you can capture all those no matter where they come from. Thank you guys for joining us, and happy archiving.